Welcome to the Topic of the Month with Kim Wardlow, an AINC original podcast. It's not easy being blind or going through vision loss, but we'll help you navigate these waters. Press on. Push forward. You've got this.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Topic of the Month. I'm Kim Wardlow, your host and the Executive Director at the Audio Information Network of Colorado. We are in a new month of March, and our topic for this month is benefits and finance. And we're actually going to start with finance first this month. And when we come back, we'll be talking with Chris Peterson, who is the president and CEO of Penny Forward. And he is going to talk to us about financial planning and some great advice, really for all of us as we plan and deal with different issues, financial issues in our lives. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is Topic of the Month with Kim Wardlow. If you enjoy what you hear, please visit AIN Colorado for more shows, news, and articles read by our amazing staff and volunteers. If you have a question for Kim or would like to recommend a guest for future shows, please visit aincolorado.org/podcast-guest. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for joining me today for the Topic of the Month.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate that you're doing two shows for us. I know some folks may have listened to Aftersight last week and your interview with Penn Street, but hopefully you're going to be joining us for a couple sessions this month about finance, and we'll be able to delve a little bit deeper into some of the things you touched on in Aftersight. So folks that listen to it, hopefully will gain more information. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, definitely go back and do that. But we'll be going into more detail in the Topic of the Month episodes. So we're here in March. I think it's starting out as a lion. I guess that means it will go out like a lamb. I know it's a little cold, I think, where both of us are at today. Chris, do you want to just start? I always like to have folks get to know a little bit about our guests and just tell a little bit about yourself or any interesting hobbies you may have, or just a little bit about you on the personal side.
Yeah, I'd love to. So you already know my name is Chris Peterson. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm 45 years old, and I'm totally blind. I'm a guide dog user. I'm on my fourth dog. He's semi-retired now. His name is Javier. And I also grew up with a sister who is also blind, and I think that was a really great experience because I feel that it's really important for blind people to know other blind people. And I was fortunate enough to always know somebody else who was blind. We didn't always get along 100% wonderfully, but we didn't always get along badly either. And it was a great experience for me to grow up knowing another blind person. And I highly recommend that. I am, and always have been since high school, an amateur radio operator. I'm an avid reader, especially of science fiction. And also, this might not be a surprise to many people, financial books. I play beep baseball. That was something that I didn't discover and didn't get into until I was in my 30s. I am a member of a blind bowling league and also a member of a blind dart league. And I really like blind bowling and blind darts because the way that our leagues work, we are able to include sighted members along with blind members. And that's really good because my wife is sighted, and so that gives us some activities that we can do together, which is really great. And about a year and a half ago, I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Wow. So I'm physically pretty active. And about 3 years ago, I started Penny Forward. So, I've got a lot going on.
You do. Very busy. And I know you have children as well.
That's true. I have an 11-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy. My 3-year-old has already started to show signs of enjoying some of the things that I enjoy. And it's been fun watching my 11-year-old grow up. And she's a real artsy person. Mm-hmm. But I found that she enjoys things like making videos and stuff. And so she enjoys some of the technical parts of that I enjoy. And it's been really fun to bond with them over stuff like that as they get older.
Oh, definitely. Very fun. And I'm a reader also, so I have to ask you, do you have a favorite science fiction book?
Oh, there's just so many of them. There's a series that I have recently been reading by Dennis E. Taylor that starts out with a book called We Are Legend, We Are Bob. And that's a really great series that I've enjoyed the heck out of in the last couple of years. But gosh, there's just a ton of great literature out there.
Well, great. Well, thanks for sharing that. I made a note so I can go check that out. So as you said, you've been blind all your life, and you didn't start out in your career thinking, oh, I'm going to work in the financial planning arena. I know you started out more as a technical person. Do you want to just tell a little bit about how you made that transition to start Penny Forward?
Sure. So I've been a software developer for the last 20 years. And about 3 years ago, I was starting to feel a little bit of burnout in my career and feel like I wanted to do something new. And I'd been working with a financial planner for most of my career and had really developed a good relationship with him where he told me, Chris, you would be really good at financial planning. And it's something that you maybe want to think about as like a retirement job or a hobby job or something. And as I got to thinking more about it, I thought, I don't want to do this as a retirement job or a hobby job. I want to do it full time. So I approached some companies about getting an actual financial planner job and was in the interview process and they were fascinated. The company that I was interviewing with had never had a blind financial planner on their staff before, but they thought that it could be a really great opportunity for them and for me. And then my wife came to me and said, we're about to have a brand new baby, which was an unexpected but very exciting surprise for us. And one of the things about a financial planner is that they tend to work on commission, either by collecting an hourly rate for when they work or by collecting fees off of investment products that they sell. So that's something that I'm entirely unfamiliar with because I've always worked as a salaried employee. And I was unsure of how that was going to work with the expenses of having a brand new baby. But I was also unsure that it was a great plan to try and learn an entirely different career from the one I had been doing while staying up late at night and you're getting up in the middle of the night for feedings and changings and stuff. So I had just randomly gotten a message on LinkedIn from a recruiter that was with the company that I had been interviewing with. And they said, we're looking for a lead software developer in Minneapolis. Would you be interested? So I reached out to them and I told them the story about how I had been already interviewing on the financial planning side and why I did find this opportunity interesting. And they also thought that was a neat story, and I ended up getting the job. But while I was wrestling with that decision of whether to move on with my financial planning aspirations or stick with the software development job that I knew how to do, somebody advised me that, maybe you should start a website or a blog or something and build up a market. And you can always come back at financial planning later on once you have a market built up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. I started a blog, and then I launched a podcast, and then I started to talk to people, and I know a lot of blind people. So I was talking to a lot of blind people, and they said, we would really feel better about working with a nonprofit organization. And we really want to know a lot about Social Security benefits and how to navigate that system. And, we want to know about how to become employed. We want to know about, more simpler things like budgeting, credit usage, how to buy a house, things like this. And so I found out that there is a related field called financial counseling, which I decided to go into. And I met enough people that were interested enough in providing financial counseling in the blind community that we were able to pull together a board of directors, and we did launch ourselves as a nonprofit. And we're now in our second year of operation as a nonprofit. We launched in September of 2021. So we provide online courses in various financial education topics, and we're adding more and more of those as time goes on. We also do weekly group chats, which are sessions on a topic of the week, or sometimes just check-up sessions to see how people are doing with things that are important to them. Finally, we are starting to add one-on-one financial counseling for people that have more complicated situations or just want to work in a more private setting. And we're doing that while training 3 accredited financial counselors, along with something called the Association for Financial Counseling and Planning Education, or AFCPE. And they sort of maintain the standard for the financial counseling field. And throughout the training process, we're providing feedback to them about what kinds of things could be smoothed out to make the process more accessible for blind people that want to go into the financial counseling field. And we would like to bring more blind people into financial counseling in the future. So that's a longer term aspiration that we have.
That is great that you have the opportunity to impact the system on that level, that they are willing to listen to what they can do to improve the accessibility. Obviously, we talk about accessibility a lot in various aspects on topic of the month. So obviously, it's important if you're becoming a counselor, but also the accessibility aspect for people coming to take your courses or have individual counseling, the accessibility of website and podcasts and those kinds of things too. I think I see that as setting Penny Forward apart from, other more traditional financial, whether they're nonprofit or for-profit, but, financial education sites.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit more. I know like you're on your website, it describes Penny Forward as a nonprofit offering accessible financial wellness education and counseling programs for people who are blind or disabled. And are there particular things that are different or in addition to maybe what a person, as a sighted person seeking financial counseling would be looking for?
Yeah, it's a complicated answer. And truthfully, probably 9 things out of 10 are the same. Mm-hmm. We should all be aspiring to set aside some savings for things that come up. We should all be aspiring to build up our credit scores because that's a reputation that we have with banks, with lenders that help us to borrow money more cheaply. If we have trouble with debt, and blind people and sighted people have trouble with debt sometimes, we should understand how to get out of it and what the opportunities are for that. And And people also want to learn about how to invest, how to develop passive income so that they don't have to work as much, or maybe not at all if they want to retire. But we also receive Social Security benefits that aren't available to most able-bodied people. And that creates some opportunities for us and also some challenges, because people may be hesitant to decide to work or decide to start their own business or to decide to invest or bring in other sources of income, because they've developed a fear of running afoul of the rules of the Social Security benefit system. And then, some blind people also have other medical challenges on top of blindness, where they may be afraid to lose medical coverage, like from Medicaid, that may be very important to them. And so we focus a lot on the accessibility of the experience. Our desire is to make the experience enjoyable for somebody who's totally blind, somebody who has low vision, or somebody who is, has a combination of a visual impairment and a hearing impairment, or maybe a physical impairment on top of that. But we also want to make sure that we address those unique concerns that we have in our community that the general public or the financial counseling community maybe doesn't have as much awareness of, or even if they have the awareness of it, they certainly don't have the lived experience. I've been on Social Security. I've had them come to me and tell me that they overpaid me and pull away benefits. I've had those obnoxious review phone calls where I feel like I'm under an interrogation light and having to justify my existence. And those things aren't pleasant things. They make you feel small. They make you feel like less of a part of society, and they affect how we approach our finances.
And it can be very limiting if you feel like there's not an alternative to remaining at a lower income. And it can be scary to think about the transition, because you can make just enough money that you're going to lose some benefits, but not, maybe not enough to really cover all of the expenses that you see having. And that really does take a particular kind of financial counseling and somebody who understands that type of situation. What advice do you give someone who's looking at that? They really want to advance in their career, but they're not sure if that promotion is going to be enough of a pay increase to cover the benefits that they may lose.
There's so many different pieces of advice that I could offer, but one is to really keep track of your spending. If at all possible, find ways to set money aside in savings. You definitely need to do that when things come up, and those things are sometimes good things, like like a promotion or a possible new opportunity, and sometimes they're bad things, like some sort of medical issue that was unexpected, or even needing to attend the funeral of a family member or something that has unexpected travel expenses. So, aspire to do that as much as you can, but the advantage to setting aside some money in savings and trying not to spend all of your paychecks is also that you can choose to stop saving at some point. There are some cases where you might actually be taking a pay cut, at least temporarily, to get a promotion. And when you do take a pay cut to get a promotion, you may decide to stop putting money aside in savings in order to absorb some of the impact of that, knowing that your pay is probably going to increase over time, and that pay cut will be temporarily. But secondly, I would say negotiate your salary with your prospective boss. Explain to them the situation that you're in, that you would be potentially taking a pay cut to get the promotion, and see if there's any way that you can get a raise along with it. And you never know. You may be able to get more of a raise than you would have just by not asking, simply by bringing up the issue with your boss. If you're a really good worker, they're going to want to keep you around, and they're going to want to see you move up in your career. And they're going to be willing, sometimes not able, but they're going to be willing to have those conversations. And if we don't ask, if we don't have the courage to ask for those things, then we're going to be underpaid. So hopefully with a little bit of negotiation, maybe you can get a little bit more of a pay increase than you were initially offered. And along with keeping your budget in check, along with having some savings around to absorb some of those temporary things, and then just the normal types of pay increases that you might receive as you work and as you have good service for the company that you work for along the way. That pay cut that you might take, while it may hurt for a little while, it'll eventually go away, and you'll find yourself making more than you would have had you tried to stay on the benefits system. Mm-hmm. By the way, if it doesn't work out, say you lose your job, say you eventually fall back down, you need to go part-time or something, you can always get back on the benefits system. It's not easy. It's easier if the job doesn't work out in the short term than it is in the long term, but it is possible. And I want to take a step back here and cover the two different types of Social Security benefits, because the benefits program that you're on after having worked for a while has a different way of calculating its payments, and the takeaway that I want people to get from this is that working even for a short time will result in a higher benefits payment if you need to go back on benefits. So Social Security offers two programs: Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, and Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. SSI is a program for people who have never earned any income or never earned a lot of income, and they need to have something just to supplement the income that they don't have. Mm-hmm. Social Security Disability Insurance is a program that you pay into while you're working. The more you pay into the system, the longer you've worked, the more benefits you're qualified to receive. So somebody who has maybe been working for 10 or 15 years, if they suddenly lose their job for some reason and need to go back on the Social Security benefit system, is now qualified to receive SSDI, which could be a much larger paycheck than an SSI paycheck could be. And there's also different rules that allow you to have more resources. Maybe you have a spouse that's still working and their income isn't counted in your countable income on SSDI. So it's something that, if it were me, I would aspire to be on SSDI rather than on SSI if I had the choice.
Right. Yes, that's an important distinction. I'm not sure everybody is aware that there are two kinds of Social Security benefits. And are there also programs, I'm thinking of things like Ticket to Work, that also help when a person is first starting out and they're moving off of benefits into a higher paying work position?
Absolutely. Ticket to Work is available. Essentially, how it works is you will be hooked up with a benefits counselor that is also an employment specialist. They will help you to develop a work plan. That may be a plan to find and hold down a job, or it may be a plan to build your own business and become self-employed. But they'll help you to figure out the ins and outs of building those plans. They'll help you to understand how you report your income to Social Security to try and avoid those overpayment situations that many of us have experienced. And then they'll also help you to use the trial periods that are available in the system. When you start working, you have a 9-month trial period that you can take advantage of to see if working is going to work out for you and for your employer. And your benefits should not change during that trial period. They only should start to change as you start to feel like you are successful in working. So Ticket to Work is a really great resource for starting work for the first time, but it also can be a great resource for going back to work after being out of work for a long time and being on benefits if that's something that you're facing. And there's a special Choose Work site that's run by the Social Security Administration that explains how to use Ticket to Work. They also have an 800 number that is specific to Ticket to Work, and it is separate from the toll-free number that many of us know for calling the Social Security call center. And it's the place to go if you want to find out about Ticket to Work. Typically, the call center representatives at the main number don't seem to know as much about it and haven't been as helpful with connecting people to it as they should be. So if you can find the website or the specific Ticket to Work 800 number, that will be very helpful to you in getting started with that program. There are also centers for independent living and other organizations in your local area that have benefits counselors on staff that can help you get connected with those resources as well.
Great. Thank you for that explanation of Ticket to Work. I hadn't heard such a detailed explanation, so I'm sure that's really helpful to our listeners. So we've talked a lot about work and benefits and trying to figure out how to move from maybe a Social Security benefit into a higher pay position and being off of benefits and moving back and forth between that if needed. And as a person is looking at that and doing that, what should they be thinking of maybe longer term in terms of their financial planning? And what's important especially as you're progressing in your career and maybe earning a higher salary, maybe having a little bit more that you can save to be able to look at in terms of planning? What are the most important things to consider?
Well, the first thing that I would say is that the best approach as far as planning for the future is to start as early as possible. If you don't start right away, say at the beginning of your career or the beginning of your adult life, or some people are even lucky enough to have had some help from their families before they became adults, you will need to work a lot harder. Saving is something that's going to take a long time. But your saving can be much more effective because of the magic of something called compound interest. So as you put money in the bank, as you put money into investments, that money will grow faster and faster the longer it sits. So when I'm 20 years old, I might be able to get away with saving $100 a month. And that might make me a millionaire or close to it by the time I'm retirement age, say 65 or 67. But I might need to put away $1,000 a month if I don't start that until I'm 40 years old. Mm-hmm. And so, it just takes a lot more work in order to have the same result. And the result that we're really hoping for is that at some point you have enough money saved that you no longer have to work at all if you don't want to. Or if you do choose to work, you can choose to work as little or as much as you want. So maybe you just want to go to work for 2 or 3 hours a day, or maybe a couple of days a week part-time, just to be able to interact with people and feel like you're making a positive impact on the world. And we want to see you have enough money to be able to do that. But many people have very little understanding of how much money that'll take. So the other thing to start doing as early as possible is keep track of how much money you're spending. By some measures, people want to see you have 25 to 30 times your expenses, not your income, but your expenses in savings when you retire or when you stop working. Mm-hmm. If I spend about $1,000 a month, which is $12,000 a year, but I'm making $2,000 a month, which is maybe $24,000 a year, then I may need about 25 or 30 times that $12,000 a year in savings before I can start pulling $12,000 a year out of my savings without having to be afraid of running out of money. So you want to really keep track of your expenses and try and keep your spending down as much as you can, as early as you can in your life, so you can build up that nest egg, and then you don't have to worry about it later. And there's many approaches to doing this. As I indicated earlier, if you start when you're, say, 20 years old, you may be able to get away with just putting away $50 or $100 a month into savings. And if you keep doing that until you're 67, you'll be fine. Some people, when they start at 20 years old, they might save much, much more aggressively and have their whole retirement nest egg built up by the time they're 30 or 35 years old. And then they stop saving. Maybe they keep working, but they suddenly have a much higher level of disposable income because they don't have to put so much money away in savings anymore. And their money just sits there and grows until they decide to retire. But some people save aggressively enough that they even decide to retire by the time they're 35 or 40 years old. And maybe they stay home and raise their kids, or maybe they work part-time or volunteer at their kids' schools. It all just depends on how much work you want to put into it.
Well, I think that really gives our listeners something to aspire to, something to think about, especially our younger listeners who have that opportunity to start young. Chris, you've given us so much to think about and so much good advice as we just get started into talking about finances and financial counseling and seeking out whether it's online classes or an individual financial counselor to assist us. And I just want to leave this session thinking about that possibility of if we save, what we might be able to do and the choices that we might be able to have. And then next week, you're coming back, and I'm really excited about that. You're coming back and you're going to give us some tips and tricks and advice on how we can save, because I know some of us struggle. We want to save, but it can seem overwhelming. And I know you have some tips and tricks where even just saving small amounts can really, really add up.
Yeah, I do. And I'm looking forward to coming back. Before I go, I wanted to give out the 800 number for the Ticket to Work helpline, if I may.
Oh, yes, please do.
It is 1-866-968-7842. Again, that's 866-968-7842. And that is the helpline for the Social Security Ticket to Work program. So if that's something that you didn't know about or was a mystery to you, this is the place to start.
Great. And if you want to learn more about Penny Forward, you can go to their website at www.pennyforward.com and find out more about the blogs and the podcasts and the services that they are offering. So I definitely would encourage you to do that. As I said, if you didn't hear Chris's interview with Penn on AfterSight last week, that's still available to you, as well as our podcast Blindsight. And now in March, finally, we are here in our new podcast Blind Level Tech. BLT has launched. And so you can learn about all things tech on that website. Or on that podcast. So thank you so much for listening. I hope this information is helpful to you. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments about our programs. It's always helpful if whatever platform you listen to us on, if you're able to leave a review or comment, that is helpful to us. And we will be back again next week.